Hey y'all, welcome to All the Layers podcast, where we peel back all the layers, the deep, the funny, the uncomfortable, and everything in between. We are your hosts, Akila,
And Mattia.
and this is episode number 8, y'all, and we're going to be talking about code switching.
And we picked the topic of code switching because it's something we both do and have ran into in both our personal and professional lives. And a lot of people have differing views. Some people think it's funny, some people think it's exhausting, some people think it's protective. And so we wanted to open up a bigger conversation about identity, belonging, and authenticity and kind of just unpack all the layers.
Yes, I love that. Okay, Matthias, so let's kind of talk about our experiences with code switching, kind of go into maybe what you think it is and when you first noticed yourself doing it, and what that kind of looks like for you.
I don't know if I could pinpoint exactly when I first noticed myself doing it. I don't
Yeah.
even really know when I started getting educated about what code switching was, because it always
Yeah.
has just felt like something. When I say we, I mean like Black people do. So I don't know, but for me it's more so just like tone of voice, word choices,
Yeah.
maybe sometimes I would say like personality and actions, but more so like tone of voice and word choice for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if I can even pinpoint either because like you said, it's just kind of been a very big part of just how I move on a day-to-day basis,
Mhm.
especially in professional spaces. And we kind of grew up, like we talked about before, in white spaces. So I think we
Mhm.
naturally sounded more proper or picked up on some verbiage or vocabulary that isn't how we would naturally talk like if we were in spaces with our friends or just being comfortable or just chilling. So I think I have just kind of always did it without even thinking about it, like unconsciously. And yeah, I would agree with you on it being well, the tone of my voice specifically, like I'll go like higher, I'll go switching versus talking like at a lower
It'd be so
key.
high.
And then it's definitely words like I'm not gonna use slang or
Mhm.
whatever, like it's gonna be more proper and my vocabulary might enhance greatly. I'm trying to think what else. I think code switching can also be just personality too, like kinda dimming I don't wanna say dimming your light, but that dang that that just hit hard. I don't wanna say dimming your light, but changing how you are. Like if you're super animated, like maybe toning that down a little bit, like toning yourself down is I guess the best way to say it. So yeah, that's kinda how
No,
it's
I definitely think you do have, not like do have to do that, but I do think that's a big part of code switching is
yeah.
your personality, and that's why I said, like, actions. I feel like sometimes I do be changing my actions just because 'cause I'm like, "Okay, maybe I shouldn't say that, or I won't make that joke,
Right.
in this space." And it's
Right.
funny, I was just thinking about when you were like, "We grew up in white spaces and we sounded different." I feel like we always sounded like that, though, like, even in
Yeah.
school once because we was so around that even our family members like, Uncle Stu was telling us we sounded white.
Yeah. Yeah, our family members would be like, "Ooh, them girls sound white." Would answer the phone like, "You sound white," like,
Yeah,
literally
even
as
Granny to
kids.
this day.
Yeah, she does say stuff to us, and she from the South, so but she been in the Midwest for so long, but yeah, she still even sounds a little country, so I think we sound super and it's not white, it's just proper, like, that's literally what y'all are saying is we sound proper and
Exactly.
professional at all times, so yeah, that's funny. Do you feel like we do it more in certain spaces? I mean, I say yes for sure.
I don't know, cause lately not l when I say lately, I mean, like, last 2 years maybe, I
Yeah.
haven't it's been, like, the other way around for me. I'll be in class and I'll say something, I'll be like, "Ooh," like, code switch. Like, it'd be the other way around where usually it's like, "Ooh, why do I sound so, like, proper? I'm doing too much." Now it's like, "Ooh, Mattia, like, polish it." Because sometimes I just get comfortable, but I don't know. I feel like it's, like, equal for me low key, cause some classes you'll have or some people you'll be around in school, you can talk certain ways to them, they won't really care. It's more of a comfortability thing for me now, I think.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's good. I
Or,
agree with
like,
that.
sussing out how like, can I be funny with this person or can I, like tone it down with this person because some professors now they be cursing and all types of stuff. So I was like, okay, I know I'm cool in here. Like,
Yeah.
so
No.
it depends.
No. Yeah, that's a really good point because for me, I think it shows up way more in professional spaces when I'm talking to other people or like even if we're talking about age, like if I'm talking to my parents versus my friends or the older person versus a younger person, there's going to be differences there. But I think for me, it's mostly like to the level of I'm really, really code switching. That's in professional spaces. But like you said, in my profession, for example, lawyers, at least like when you're talking corporate law, deal work, whatever, like it I mean, they cuss. And I
Mhm.
think it's really probably all, but they cuss heavily. And usually you're in a workspace, you're like, whoa, wait, I can't cuss. But they do not care. They do it in front of clients. Like I have seen it all. So I'm like, when it comes to that, I think I could like, I still don't, because I don't think we can do everything they can
Right.
do. So, as we've stated before many times, but I could just kind of fill out, like you said, like the vibe, I guess. And even like with my
Mhm.
job now, like I'm working in an entertainment space. So music, like all that stuff has a lot of color in it. So it's like people don't really care as much. So yeah. Okay. What version of yourself comes out around like family versus friends versus coworkers? I kind of just touched on that, but I want you to answer that question.
I'm trying to think if I even code switch with family. I've stopped doing that. I think I
Yeah.
used to do that, but I don't really have to do that with I don't have to do that with family too much.
Yeah.
Friends,
It
it kind of
depends on who it
depends
is.
on the friends.
That's crazy. Like when would you have is it depend on where the friend come like are they a
Okay,
school friend? Are they a
how
college
do I
friend?
say
Like your PhD program friend? Or are they like
I feel
Tuskegee?
like okay, I'm gonna be real. When I was younger, I had a lot of white friends. And then we talked about this in the first episode. Once we transitioned to like middle school, high school, I kinda went more towards the black folks and kinda stayed there until I got to like higher education where, I'm the only black person in my cohort. So most of my friends are non-black people. There's certain stuff I don't say around them that I might say around my black friends. Like, I
Right.
just started feeling comfortable saying nigga around them. Like, just. And
Um,
that's not even like and not even necessarily comfortable, but sometimes it'll just come out. I'll be like,
um,
"This nigga is always like" and I don't even mean to do it, but I've gotten comfortable enough where it just, it comes out. But
you must be really comfortable because, baby, I don't say that
On
around my
no, on
non-black friends.
accident. For example, if somebody call, I'm like, "Why is this nigga calling you?" But I'll be around them and not even realize I'm saying it type of thing. But that's how I noticed that my nervous system has relaxed a little bit because
Yeah.
it's just coming out like that. And then sometimes I'm like, "Ooh, sorry, like, I didn't mean to say that." And they be like, somebody like that's your thing." Like,
But
"Okay."
yeah, keep it my thing. Don't think you can go around saying it.
No, they're great, but, like, that's the only time I feel like I have to code switch with friends more so because I am now in a space in my life where I do have more friends who are, like, non-black, and so
Yeah.
at first, I think I felt like I had to code switch more, but that's something I've kinda got over a little bit, but yeah.
I guess kinda to that, um, we can kinda talk about if we've caught ourselves like code switching and thought, why in the world am I sounding like that? Imma say definitely yes, because even though it is natural, like sometimes I've like picked up the phone and I'm like, "Hi, how are you doing?" Like and I'm like, "Wait a second, that just sounded so different, like, I sound so crazy." Or if I'm just, like, talking to somebody and I'm being super proper, trying to be kind and professional, and I'm like, "Oh my god, my voice sounds so high and so, like, I don't know, giddy and fake." I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I've
Yeah.
definitely felt like that.
Another another thing you do, every time we on the phone and you be going through a drive-through, bro, you be like, "Um, can I get a $5 biggie bag?" And I'm like, "What is like, what is going like, these people is at Wendy's, they don't care about how you sound." Like, but you be doing that.
No,
And it's
that's
so
funny
funny.
because mom said that to me because she was like, "Oh my gosh, you're so kind." She's like, "You've said please 15 times. Can I please get a fry? And can I also please add da da Oh, thank you so much. How are you doing? I'm good, thank you.
Like,
Okay."
yeah.
They'd be like, "Pull up. Okay, I will. Thank you. Have a good one." Like, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously
That
try to be nice, y'all, but it just happens when I tell you I don't even think about it. I'm just like, "Can I please get a what comes on this?"
mhm.
Like, I don't know. Even probably when I order in restaurants, now that you say that, that probably is like, yeah. I'd be like, "What do you recommend?"
Okay. You overdoing it now. But y'all
I
don't even
really
do
be
that.
doing that, but not on purpose. That's what I'm trying to say, and not on
I'll literally
purpose.
be like, "What you like on the menu?" Like, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I'd be like, "What do you recommend? What's your favorite?"
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Unless I'm super comfortable. Like I said, I might see my people and be like, "Okay, tell me what's good here. What have you tried?" Like, but again, I
It's
don't
a
know.
sussing out thing, I feel like.
Yes, it is a filling out people thing for sure. No, 100%. Okay. So let's define code switching for the people because we're just talking about it, but let's really define what it even is or what we think it is. Let me know if you want me to go or if you want to go.
I can go. I feel like we talked off the camera about it. I just think it's a strategy that people use to kind of change their self presentation within different contexts and situations. So people will adjust how they present themselves, and it's often very driven by like societal expectations or norms or stereotypes maybe that they feel they need to not, align with. So yeah, I just think it's like the idea that we switch in and out of various like identities to just fit in certain context situations or with certain people.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think it's also a way, just to add to that slightly, I think it's a way to kind of navigate um, professional settings a lot of times. I'm not saying it doesn't show up in other areas, but I think that's the big one. And just kind of also to gain acceptance in a way based on
Mm,
what you think you should be doing or
yeah.
what you think you should sound like or what you think people expect you to sound like in, like you said, certain contexts or spaces. So, that's good. Would you say 10 out of 10 no notes?
10 out of 10 no notes.
Um, we kind of touched on this, but I do think that it's not only how you talk, but it's also how you act because I don't know. Like I said, like even being animated or being really humorous or something, I do feel like you have to tone that down in certain like it's a time and place for stuff and some jokes may land well and some may not. Or you know how we say funny like we have all these sayings as black women or things that got hot on social media. Or if you clocking something, like I can't clock nothing at work. I can't be in there like clocking it. That would be crazy. So, yes, to me, I think that it's both. But do you think it's both, or have you always thought about it in the realm of speaking?
No,
Or
I think it's action based too. I'm just trying to think of a time that I've actually. But yeah, I think it's action based too. I think I'm just in my head trying to figure out what to me is code switching and what's just like you said, kind of like time and place,
yeah,
which I think is a bit different. But we touch on that later. So
okay. We kind of talked about this about like can it be unconscious? I think it
definitely.
100% can, and I know for me it 100% is. Like I like, and maybe that's just because I've practiced it so much or done it so much that now it just happens without me thinking.
Mhm.
But again, I think we were already kind of in that like into doing that because we were talking like the people we were around since we were like children.
Yeah.
So I don't think we really had to code switch as much. But when we did, it's like, oh, we already 75% here. So it just the other part, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, no, really, I just think it was kind of a learned response and we figured that out based on what spaces we were in.
Yeah, I think well, not to get all psychological, but it's also just a social cue thing. As you go through life, we unconsciously, like they say, kids are sponges. We take in all this information unconsciously to where,
Mhm.
like, even sometimes when we sit here talking, I'm like, oh, like I'm speaking to a large audience. So I might tweak how I sound sometimes and I'll be like coming out of it like I'm just sitting here talking to my sister. Like, I don't need to code switch. But because I know where it's going, the social cue in my head is like, okay, you're still about to be posting this on social media. So like you know?
Right.
So it's like a social cue thing or just kinda like habits or patterns that you've picked up going, throughout life, so
No, definitely. And I think the other thing is it gets a bad rep, and I'm not saying I agree with it 100%. I think I'm somewhere in the middle, but
Mhm.
I think sometimes it can be seen as like, and we talked about authenticity in the sense of social media and other things, but I think it can be seen as being fake or performing, so to speak. But I also think it can be strategic or it can be just someone trying to be professional. And again, like I said, time and place, but I do think it's levels to it. Like, I think you can be professional and still be yourself. But again, you're all trying to figure out, okay, in this space, how much of myself can I be and be accepted and still be seen as capable and still be seen as, because it's like you said, it's based off of stereotypes too. Like, okay, black people are loud, aggressive, rude, this is this. So anything that I feel like is, leaning towards that, I'm going to try to step away from. So with aggression, I'm going to lower my voice. I'm going to talk a little bit higher. I'm not going to, and I shouldn't say, when I say lower my voice, like not be as loud, but
Mhm.
tone wise, I'm going to talk a little bit higher. I'm not going to talk because that might sound like I'm screaming at you. Like, I'm not going to talk lower. And just different things like that. I'm not going to curse or I'm not going to use slang because it might come off as like I'm screaming at you. Just all those different things. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that kinda goes into our next point. Do you think it is something that everybody does, and what's the difference between code switching or just being polite and professional?
I don't think everyone does it because I know one person that's in this apartment with me right now that don't do it. My boyfriend,
Oh, brother.
he did not. He don't believe in doing it. Like, he is himself 24, like, I would kid y'all not, I was on the phone with him while he was at work the other day, and he was just cussing and carrying, and I'm like, "You at work talking like that?" And he
I
like,
think Nick
"Yeah."
code switches.
No. So
Like, there are certain ways he behaves in places in which he's comfortable with people versus when he's not comfortable with everybody. Like, he's very quiet sometimes, and then, like, he can be very
yeah.
jokey. That's still kinda code switching.
Yeah, he's quiet, but I don't think he code switches, though, I really don't.
Hmm.
Like, maybe what you're saying is, like, toning down or, like, time and place, like, okay, maybe I'm not gonna tell as many jokes, but he'll still get a joke off in a space where he knows nobody.
Yeah.
So in a professional space.
I'm
So,
crying.
I don't know, I think based off of that, I don't think everyone does it. I think some
Mhm.
people don't believe in it, or they feel like I should be able to just be myself, like, why am I gonna do all this extra work to fake and, be somebody who's not me just to get accepted? Like, you either accept me as me or you don't. But I think a lot of people do, though, from a professional standpoint at the same time. I just don't think it's everybody, right?
Mhm.
And then what was the other part of the question?
Like,
Oh.
what do you think the difference is between code switching and just being polite and or professional?
See, and I think that's where it gets murky for me because the reason why I am okay with code switching and I kind of do think people should do it to an extent is because I think it is about being professional, polite, and appropriate in certain ways. Certain ways. Not saying in every way, but I kind of think they are intertwined.
For me, I would say I do feel like everybody has some version or does some version of code switching.
Mhm.
Um What I do think is different is that there's different stakes when it comes to code switching. Like, not all code switching is equal, for lack of better words. Like,
Right.
I think when we talk about Black people or other people of color, I can't speak too much to those, communities because I don't really know, like, what goes into that. But I think the thing that is the same for all of us is code switching isn't really just about being polite or professional. It can feel kinda like a form of self-protection, so it's not just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, just a little," but I need to actually shift parts of who I am to actually be taken seriously or to feel safe here or to feel accepted here.
Yeah.
When it comes to the difference between code switching and or being polite and professional, I feel like being polite or professional is a little more situational and it doesn't always cost you your sense of self always. I feel like you're
Mhm.
still you, but it's just like, okay, I'm gonna be a little more formal, a little more filtered, a little more intentional. Like if I'm sitting in a job interview,
Yeah.
I'm still me, but like I'm not about to be in here like I'm trying to get the job. But I don't think there's as much fear. I mean, there is fear when it comes to, like, what happens if I don't do this, but I like you said, I feel like it's more of, like, this is just a time and place to be professional, versus
Yeah.
code switching in a deeper sense, I feel like is more of kinda adjusting this way in which you express your identity to feel accepted, safe, or respected in some way.
Yeah.
So and I
That's
think that's
a
why
really
people
good
say it's
point.
like a double-edged sword. I don't think there's any I mean, there could be downsides to being polite, but not really. I mean, like
No, that's a really good point, and kinda I don't know. Now I'm torn. Because kind of what we were talking about when we were preparing for this is sometimes it is literally just about like dialects or what you're saying. Like we were talking about like slang, for example, versus not using slang and things like that. And I remember this just made me think about I remember being in a space and someone saying that somebody's accent was unprofessional and people
wow.
were not gonna take them seriously because they had an accent. So to your point, you can have an accent. You could be country as I'll get up from the South, and I still feel like you can have that accent and you can be polite and professional, and that's appropriate, right? But
Mhm.
I think with code switching, maybe where it can be different is that like that may be actually getting rid of that accent and
Exactly.
talking in a way that sounds not like yourself. So there is a difference, I think, because I do
Yeah.
think you can be polite and professional with a lot of things and still be true to who you are and not be
Mhm.
shifting them to fit into this space or this context. So I changed my answer. Um,
Hey, it's the way you said it, so I changed my answer.
but yeah, so I think they are actually different. And I don't think because you're, more giddy or more humorous that means you're not polite and professional. As
Right,
long as you
exactly.
keep it cute. That's it.
Mhm.
So, okay. Or loud or whatever you may be. I don't know. Do we think that there is a point of adapting when we're talking about code switching that is performing? I struggle. I struggle.
That's a hard question because as we know, like if we're speaking like systemically or systematic, I don't really know what I should know that, but I don't. Anyways, when we are coming from that angle, I feel like some of us have to do that. Like we don't have a choice. So I don't
Right.
want to say, oh, if you're doing that, you're performing, because at the same time it's like you might need to do that. But if I was ignoring that, then I would say I think there is a point like the saying, like it gets to a point. I think it does get to a point where it's like if you feel like you're playing a version of yourself instead of expressing your true self, or you're monitoring yourself and you're like consciously, okay, what are the words I'm saying? What is the tone? What are the reactions that I'm making? Like super closely, like you're self surveillancing yourself. I think once it gets to that point, it's performative. You
Performative.
gotta you can and I think you can code switch without being so anal about it, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Or without completely losing yourself.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
That's the gift in being able to switch though, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
And yeah. Yeah.
I
That's what
guess
I
if you
was gonna
don't
say.
switch back, then yeah, maybe we just
Yeah.
that's not good.
No, that's real. And I feel like it's hard to, cause y'all, I have found myself at a work event laughing at some shit that I know is not funny to me. And at that point, we may be in trouble.
Hey,
That may be performing.
I'll be laughing at the most non-funny
Like, okay, let me
I
stroke your
can't
ego a
do
little bit and sit here and laugh. I'm thinking in my black head, that is not funny. Like,
Right.
I would never laugh.
But it just be like, damn, everybody else in the room laughing like you can't just be sitting there like
Let
you
me
the
look
only person.
engaged. Let me look interested a little bit.
Right,
Like,
like one, you the only person and you the only black person. You can't be the only one not laughing. Everybody's laughing.
but also humor is cultural. Like, it really, like,
No, it
some stuff,
is.
like, some groups or communities find funny that others would not. I mean,
There really is.
so
Cause I
yeah,
had this
there's a gap.
long And it's so funny because it's like that in media as well. I categorize comedy movies by white humor and black humor. And sometimes I really love white humor movies, like Hangover
Yeah.
series, one of
Oh,
my
Hangover's great.
favorite.
Yeah,
That
great.
is so funny, but there it really is white humor though. But it's funny, but it's to a point, it's white humor. But some of it's funny, some of it's like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's not funny.
No, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It's rough to talk about like when it gets to performing, but I think, like I said, I agree with your point generally. Though
Mhm.
it's just yeah, if you have to really, if you're like hyper focusing and analyzing every word you're saying and making sure
Right.
it sounds like you're doing too
Mhm.
much, it has to be like I said. I think it has to be more like how we are with like the unconscious. Like I'm already 75% there in most settings, so I'm not really having to do too much, right?
Yeah.
But I think that we've become way more like when we both went to the South for school, we picked up on some stuff. So I feel like now we kind of like I think that's where the shift happened. Like at first I really think that was like who we were. And then it's like, oh, okay, we around our people, we kind of picking up on some stuff. We talking with other black people. So, we've chilled out. And sometimes it'll come out and I'm like, ooh,
Yeah, I also think I wanna say when we were younger though, we sounded more, I guess, what would be like I don't wanna say more black 'cause that sounds really bad, but what people would consider sounding black, and then we went to those predominantly white settings and it
yeah.
changed. But
Yep.
when you think about it, most of our family are from very rural southern areas, like even Portsmouth, Ohio. It's in Ohio, but they have a very unique dialect. It's a
Slang.
little rural. It's very rural. It's just country. It's like
Yeah.
Midwest country. So I think being raised by people who sound like that, that's obviously how we originally sounded. And then you kind of pick up again on these social cues and stuff and you sound different. Then you go back and you kind of revert,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Right. Right.
So,
No,
yeah.
that's true. Yeah. It's funny because I think, like I said, we talked about our little phone voice. Cause you, me, and mom do the same exact thing with the phone voices, baby. The octave is up here. It's very high.
I
It's
don't think mine
very
is code switching though. I just have really bad phone anxiety.
the point I'm making is that we know that voice that we all get. I do think it be code switch because it's like we on the phone ordering something or talking to somebody or whatever, like, and not talking to like just anybody, like a company or handling some type of business. And we all do it, and it's kind of crazy because I listen to y'all and I'm like, then I'll turn around and do the same thing, and not even realize it. The other funny thing I think it shows up in is work emails.
Oh,
How
yeah.
I would really want to respond versus how I do. My manager was telling me the other day, like, "You're so kind in emails." I'm like, "Girl, I try like now that I be trying really hard because in my head I would answer one way, like, why the hell are you asking me this? This is your job." And then I would type, um, could you please like it'll be
Right.
something totally different. Not, this is your job, but could you please provide more context on this? Or is there somebody else that we can contact to get like, you know what I'm saying? Just literally a whole different version of what I just said in my head. And that may not correlate, but y'all get the point.
No, I know exactly what you mean because your first what comes to mind when you first read an email is never what you actually type. Because
No.
sometimes you be like, "What the hell? What are you talking about? This is stupid," and then it'll just be the nicest email you ever sent, even
Yep.
though that's what you was thinking to begin
Oh,
with.
I'm good for that. I don't do really, I don't know what they call it, nice, nasty, or like
Nice, nasty, and
passive aggressive. I'm not like that. I
you can
just,
be nice, nasty in like a HR form. Because sometimes them people they be needed to know. Because I done had to like, hey now, but in the HR version of it, like, hey.
I'm screaming. No, I get what you're saying. Let's talk about the version of us that comes out around elders, honey boy, because I straighten up real quick. I don't say no curse words. I'm very, yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Mhm.
That's just adults, period, though. Like mom and dad, that was just something that they always raised us to say. And I don't know. I'm extra kind. Not that I'm not regularly, but I feel like I'm extra kind or I don't know. Yeah.
I agree, but sometimes old people be mean, so I'm not extra kind to all old people.
They can be. Old people be blunt. They don't be caring at a
It
certain.
depend like what type of because some old people be rude, like, and not because they just old, like they're genuinely just rude. But yeah, I am a very like yes, ma'am, yes, sir, Mr. Mrs. Which some people that is one
Yes.
thing people did not like about me growing up. Like more
Mhm.
so white folks be like Mr. So and so, Mr. And they be like
Call
That
me
made me feel
Jen.
old. Yeah, like, that made me feel old, call me my name, and I'm
Yeah.
like, my mama will kill me if she heard me calling you
Call
Patricia. I can't
no.
I can't call you that. Miss Pat, that's what Imma say.
Yes.
If
No, that and
anything.
again, that's a cultural, like, difference, like, when you I mean, at least, in our experience, like, in most Black families, Black households, your parent is telling you, you refer to them as Mr. and Miss, that's not your little friend.
Mhm,
Mr.
mhm.
and Mrs., that's how you show respect. Okay, I'm younger, this person is older, so I'm gonna talk to them a certain way, and so I think we were all taught that, but then, like, you meet other people, and yeah, that was my same experience as a kid. My friends' parents would be like, "Oh my gosh, no, call me this, and you
Mhm.
don't have to call me." I'm like, no, my mom, Imma get in trouble. I gotta call you this."
And I
I don't
wonder, was
even
it
feel
like
right.
that for you in law school? Because I know, like, in your master's and your PhD, you call your professors by their names. Like, I don't say Doctor so and so, I just call them by their first name. That's what they prefer, and it's a thing that
Oh,
everybody does within psychology. It's so weird.
yeah,
It's
it's a
not weird, but,
psychology
like,
thing.
it's hard to get used to.
It's probably a psychology thing. I think I've definitely heard about that, but I used to always call my professors professor, so and so. Everybody used to like. I mean, like in short, if you were talking to one another, you might be like call them by their last name. Like I don't know, I'm thinking of a
Yeah,
random
no.
last name like
It's
Parker.
something
Da da
right.
da. In short, but generally speaking, no, we all call them professor.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't do that. It was something I had to get used to when I got my master's program because everybody preferred you to call them their name, like their first name, instead of doctor so and so, just their first name. Because they were like, we're molding y'all to be our colleagues, so we want to already. And they'd be like,
Mm.
you can call me doctor so and so around undergrads, but you call me by my first name. And so in all of our classes, we always call everyone by their first names. Nobody is doctor so and so. I mean, you can if you want, but it would be really weird.
So to that point, while I didn't see it in law school, that was something I had to learn on the job when I started working. After I graduated from undergrad, I used to, if I'm reaching out to a person at a company or whatever that I'm trying to work at or for an internship, I would always refer to them as Mr. or Mrs. in their last name in the email. Then when I got on my job, now I'm your equal. We might not be equal
Mhm.
position or seniority wise, but we're equal as far as we both work as full-time employees at this place. And so they're like, you don't have to call me Mr. and Mrs. Just call me my name. You work with me. You're my colleague. And I was
Right.
like, oh, for real? So I would still be doing it. And people had to literally correct me. Even when I was interviewing for the job I have now, like talking to recruiters, I'm naturally like, Mr., Miss. I'm like, dang, I gotta call out. It was really an adjustment I had to make to your point. So yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
showed up for me in that way.
Mhm.
Let's talk about how we are around our friends when we're fully relaxed.
I be cussing and stuff.
I'm screaming. Yeah, no, around my friends, I really don't care. I kinda say whatever, but then again, like you said, because you said it depends, and it does depend because it depends on I don't know, it kinda almost depends on what space I met this friend in and how this friend
Mhm.
acts, because if they're a little bit more proper and poised and whatever,
Okay.
I ain't gonna cut a fool too much in front of them. Imma kinda keep it.
Right. Okay, I will say I do co-social friends because in a good point, I mean, you're not my friend, you're my sister, but you know how I talk to my friends when I be like, "Bitch,
Oh, yeah.
you don't like that." And there's people in the world that don't like that as well. So if someone tells me and I now once you told me you didn't like that, I always ask people like, "Hey," I do kinda talk that way, so, like, if you don't like that, tell me now. It's like and sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, no, I talk to my friends like that too," and then sometimes well, I don't know, I've never ran into somebody that doesn't like you other than you.
Oh. Maybe they're
But
just
I'm
not
just saying, like,
comfortable saying that they don't like it, because I have had situations in which people have said it to me, and I, like, know that's how they talk, and I know they don't mean like, they're not trying to
Mhm.
offend me, and so I might not be like, "Hey, excuse me, I don't like being called that." I might just let them, then I eventually think that I might say something, but, yeah, maybe they're just not comfortable saying that they don't feel comfortable being called that because it's so widely done and used.
Well, that's why I be asking before I even call you that, do you because I know there are people that don't like because it was this whole discourse on, TikTok about it, and I remember I literally left a comment like, "My sister don't like this, and if somebody else tells me they don't like it, I'm not calling them that, and y'all need to respect that." Because they was basically saying if people don't like being called that, they're boring, and I'm like, "No, maybe they just literally just don't like being called that. It's
Yeah,
not that serious."
like and it's not even that because I don't like the word in general,
Mm.
so I don't like being called it, and I also don't call anybody else that. Like, y'all, we talking about the B word too, if y'all didn't pick up on that, because y'all know how people like so I literally it's not in my vocabulary at all. I don't use it. I literally don't use it. I don't like it. So that I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah, people might think it's boring because it's so widely used and
Mhm.
such a thing that everybody does across cultures, across whatever, but
Yeah, so
nah,
that
not
is,
me.
like, another I think another thing that I just thought about that could possibly be a form of code switching that I have to do.
Oh, like you can't be at work or school, like
Oh, absolutely not. But I'm saying, like,
oh yeah, I was about to say it.
some friends don't mind that, and then some friends might mind it, is what
Oh.
I'm saying.
No, I see what you're saying. Okay. So let's talk about why people code switch just in depth. I mean, again, we said professional settings and needing to feel accepted, wanting to, not even wanting to, but feeling like you need to fit into a certain context or space. And we talked about kind of safety. And I kind of want you to expand on that. Because we talked about being taken seriously and also safety, but can you expand on the safety part?
First thing that come to mind, anytime I get pulled over, I don't play that. Code switch immediately. Situations like that or anything, because all I can think about right now is, like, police or some type of, like, authoritative
Figure. Yeah.
that could harm you. But, yeah, I think in that sense, I always code switch. Usually when I get pulled over, I just cry. That's why I've never gotten a ticket. But I will say, like, I will, like, oof, like, "Yes, officer." Like, I don't play that because it's a safety thing. I
Yeah.
also think that can apply to there's certain things you can't say around people because they'll use it against you, and you
No, that's
become
true.
unsafe in certain environments, like, "Oh, so and so said this." 'Cause yeah, there's been situations in higher education that I've seen that people have said something because they felt safe to say it in front of this group of people, and then the group of people took it, and it became this whole thing that now everybody's looking at you like you're crazy, so now you're no longer safe in this environment.
Mm. No, that's very interesting. And I definitely understand because I think the safety part, like with the authoritative figure and like what you were saying about police is like our experience as a people has been like they see us as a threat. It could be a
Mhm,
little black boy and they see you as
mhm,
a threat. So it's like now I
exactly.
feel like I have to tone down whatever is connected to my blackness, whether or not
Mhm,
that is something that is just a black thing or whether that's what's been made a black thing or became a stereotype or whatever, so that they don't see me as a threat.
mhm,
But I think it's the same way in professional settings. Like you're just
yeah,
trying to oh, they see black people as ghetto and all
mhm,
these other stuff. So let me anything that may cause them to get to that conclusion, Imma cut it out. So no, that's
exactly.
real. And then I get what you're saying too about protecting, yourself from a point of like, I don't know, not I guess it's not like
Protecting your
sharing.
reputation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Reputation. Yeah. No, that's good. And a lot of it I think is I guess it is avoiding judgment in a way. I think that kind of goes with the point of being taken seriously or whatever.
Mhm,
But also it really is just making other people comfortable at the end of the day. And yeah, and you kind of touched on this too, but do you feel like you switch differently based on how powerful the person is that you're switching for or based on who
absolutely.
has power in the room to make a decision or, you know?
Yeah, I think power in the room definitely changes it. Like the stakes are higher, then the higher the code switching probably is going to be, whether
Yeah,
it's conscious or unconsciously. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely worse when people in the room have these very high positions or have the power to, decide where you end up, basically,
correct. Yeah.
or what happens to you.
Huge.
So
Yeah. So I think we kind of touched on this earlier, but generally speaking, if you had to pick, do you think it's less of a choice? Not even less of a choice. Do you think it's more of a choice or do you think it's more of a necessity for most people? If you had to pick, there's no right
necessity.
or wrong. You think necessity?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Because if I didn't feel like I had to do it, I wouldn't. If it was up to me, I would just come in like I was talking to my friends every day. Well, but
Mm,
no, that's okay, that makes sense. Kinda wanna touch on this point, because I think generally speaking, we can agree that when you're code switching, you feel like, you're taking away parts of yourself, maybe editing yourself, and you may begin to feel disconnected from yourself because, again, we said it can end up being performing. It can be, you're trying to be this other person and kinda hiding who you actually are just to fit, but I think the other thing is that it really can become tiring. Even if it's not to like, this huge level, like you said, where we're overanalyzing everything that we say. But I just think, even for example, laughing at jokes I don't think are funny. Like, that is tiring because I'm actually faking at that point, literally. Or just the idea that I have to be on all the time, that's another thing to me that falls under code switching. Like, when
Mm.
I was in law firm spaces, I feel like I had to be on all the time. I had to be able to articulate this way. I have to be able to show that I'm, you know, I don't even know, not well traveled, but have something in common with people that are completely different from me and have lived a completely different lifestyle from me, have grown up differently, are not familiar with my culture. So I think there's just so much that you have to do that falls under that code switching realm. And I think it does become tiring because, like, damn, I just wish I could just chill and just be myself and not have to be on or not have to, fix these things or alter these things. And so I think it just in general, being yourself, it don't take nothing to be yourself. You can go anywhere and just be yourself. That takes no work. But when you have to shrink, when you have to work to act a certain way, when you have to suppress yourself, that takes a lot of work. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to make that point because I do think I've definitely experienced that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree because I think that goes into this point, this idea of masking. I don't know if you've heard of that, but I think that's basically what you're describing is like we just have to mask all day. And I think, yeah, your brain is really doing extra work because you're monitoring your tone, your word choice, your facial expression. That's one thing I really,
Ooh,
really
I'm bad. My facial expressions have been bad. People have told me, and I try to work on it, but yeah, it's bad.
Yeah,
That'll
so
happen.
that self-monitoring, like I said, like, it gets to a point, it does, but when you have to do it all day, regardless, it's very exhausting, and I just think also just having, like you said, kinda having to adapt yourself and not truly being able to just come in the room and just be who I am authentically is disconnecting. It
Yeah.
feels very disconnecting, and it's kinda sad, depressing, tiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to some tough stuff. So, who gets to not code switch? Who gets to just be natural?
Mm.
Because the question that I think we have to ask is, who are we code switching to appease? Do
Mm.
we feel as though code switching is tailored to a specific audience or group of people? And I think if we're talking professional setting, think yes, but just on a day to day, maybe not, seeing that it's not just professional. It could be with friends, it could be with family, it could be language. I don't know. I would love to touch on that because I think that's a deep.
I think I honestly I don't think who gets to be, like, natural and, like, fluid more fluid than we do is random, like, I think it really is shaped by this bigger system of, like, power and norms and what a space has historically centered as acceptable. And to me, this is just me, I think the norm group is white people. So those people whose identities and language and tone and mannerisms already align with those norms are often the ones who just get to be without overthinking it. And I think that default is seen as neutral and authentic, but for other people, especially black people who are or other people who are coming from marginalized identities, I don't know, like simply I don't know, being yourself can be read through a completely different lens in those people's eyes. Like confidence is, oh, she doing too much. She aggressive or she's too expressive. She's unprofessional. And so like what gets labeled as authentic for one person is penalized for this person. And I think that's what makes it unfair because some people can move through these spaces without having to kind of question how they're perceived while others have to be constantly aware and constantly adjusting and oh, how will this version of me, like, land in this room? And yeah, so,
Mm,
yeah, I think
mm.
the big point is the people who are allowed to be neutral are the people who came into a world that was built with them in mind.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was gonna wrap up with, is to say, one, I was gonna say to the point about the punishment and like that piece that we always be saying, y'all, we can't do what they do, is because even if, they're not doing what is perceived as acceptable, and say that's like cussing or say that's an action or something, that punishment, there's going to be some inequality there a lot of times. They may be able to do that and get by and it be okay, but if done by, say, a Black person, for example, it is conceived and perceived a completely different way, and then it's like, "Oh, that's a troublemaker. That's not a professional person. We can't have them in front of clients. We gotta get them out of here. They're fired." But on the other side, that may not be the energy that that's met with, and then, like I said, to your point, how I was gonna close it out is say, exactly, it is based on, I feel like, who these spaces were created for and
Mhm,
who is the majority in these spaces. And a lot of times in corporate, professional settings, it's not us. It is
mhm.
normally white people. They are the majority. So everyone is supposed to conform to the majority. It's kind of my thought about it. So,
Yep.
no, yeah. You did great. You laid that out beautifully. Perfectly. Okay, I'm going through because we've talked about, work, we've talked about family, talked about age and school. No, I think a funny thing with school that we didn't touch on, that's a good point. Just about because I don't know, for us in law school, we used to call people that always had their hand up and always trying to answer a question or show how smart they were, or show what they knew. We used to call them gunners. So you didn't want to be a gunner.
That's
you didn't
interesting.
you didn't wanna be a gunner because that meant you was a try-hard, you was
Yeah.
trying to, whatever. So, one of those things in school, and I've done this, I'm definitely guilty of this. I will know an answer to something or have an idea that I wanna share in a class, even before law school and college, but sometimes I would just be quiet because I didn't wanna seem like the teacher's pet or the person that's trying to show off or trying to, unless I really felt like it was some great, idea or
Mhm,
standpoint that I was adding to like a discussion or something. But just generally speaking, I think that's one way that people code switch in school is kind of, you might really be involved and be into the, lecture and all this and want to contribute, but then also be like, okay, let me not do too much because my peers may look at me a different way if I do. So that was just kind of an
mhm.
interesting thing that came up.
Yeah, that
That I
is
would
interesting. I would just call it the teacher's pet, but
that's what I said though. I was
yeah.
like, that's what I was not trying to be a teacher's pet. 'Cause it might be seen like,
Gunner. I might start
yeah,
using
we
that.
call it gunner. And it'll be the same folks, boy, every single time. "Well, I think that I would argue this." It's like, "Okay, just please relax. I promise you, you are not in court right now. You're not about to win a case
Oh.
because you just did that." I think another thing we didn't really talk about is, like, dating.
Mm,
Which is interesting because I think code switching can be seen there, like how much of yourself you show because you're trying to fill a person out or trying to see if you can trust them, or maybe you're at an early stage in the process with them. So you don't want to be too much. You just kind of want to be relaxed and, chill. And it's kind of a little bit playing hard to get sometimes in a way, like even that whole idea of I ain't gonna show how interested I am because if I do too much, they're gonna be like, ooh.
mhm,
And then also kind of like being guarded when maybe that's not your regular, like you might be a person that just kind of all the way out there, but kind of
mhm.
pulling back a little bit. So yeah, I think it shows up in that too.
Yeah,
Or
I
and
haven't
then I think
exhibited
people
that
try
trait,
to
so
impress when you first start. Like everybody, the first few months, everybody trying to impress.
yeah, no, that and yeah, that's a different conversation, but sometimes when that happens, people be like, "Oh," because this whole idea of love bombing, people be calling everything love bombing now. Learn
But
one
that's the thing though.
It is, but I feel like y'all be taking these psychological buzzwords and using them in the wrong context.
Yeah, wrong context. No, that's true. I never looked up the definition. Like antisocial is a great example of a word
Oh
that's
my god,
used
I hate
wrong
when
so
people
much.
say
But we're
that.
not gonna get into that. I'm sorry, y'all.
Yeah.
I was actually, y'all, a psychology major undergrad, so I know a little bit of what Matia knows. Not a lot, because at this point she done got 2 extra degrees on me, so I don't. My knowledge goes only so far. Okay. So, I don't know, we touched on this a little bit. I think, again, we said that code switching we feel is more of a necessity than it is a choice, but do we feel like it's a regular part of moving through the world? Do you like, we're saying people do it out of necessity versus choice, but do we feel like you have to do this to get through life, or that this is just a normal part of people's everyday living in this world? I mean,
I think it is, I don't think it should be,
yes, that's a really good point. I agree with
to
that.
put it simply.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think to your point, it shows that the world or the spaces that we all occupy, um, are not equal or do not treat everyone equal, or are not equally comfortable for everybody. So, I think that that's why it does become a regular part
Yeah,
of.
and I think this is where a lot of the work stops, which is quite annoying. But a lot of times when we talk about these things, it's always like, these are the limits, but what are we going to do about it? It
Figure
does
about it, yeah.
show that it is a sign that the world is not equal or comfortable to everybody. It is a sign, or it is a indicator of the limits of these spaces that we're in. But it's
Mhm.
like people not doing nothing about it. Like and I think that's why it just continues to go through this cycle of, people having to mask and do this stuff, and it sucks because when you think about it through all the stuff we've talked about, it's kinda like one side of the coin gets to go into these spaces and actually, like, grow and expand themselves, where the other side of the coin has to go into these spaces and kinda shrink themselves. So how do they come out? We're not even coming out equally as at when you think about it.
Yeah.
So I do wonder how much, like, untapped potential or opportunities to learn have gone missed because people of color or whatever are going into these spaces and having to not really, I don't know, be able to show parts of themselves that could be like poured into or expanded on because they have to shrink all that. Mm.
No, that is a really, really good point because to your point of like we don't come out equally, we don't go in equally. And the fact that, like we touched on earlier, these spaces were not for us, they were not built with us in mind, but now we're in them. So now that we're in them, there should be an adjustment to where it is a space for the people that occupy it.
Mhm.
And again, like you said, one thing that, and we talked about this in a earlier episode very shortly, but I think we were talking about like what different cultures and different communities and different people and ethnicities, what value they offer spaces that might just be predominantly white spaces, for example. And I think it's diversity of experience, diversity of thought, diversity of approach, diversity of personality, all those things. And I think those things can be used strategically in any, context and space. And like you said, built on. And it's like, imagine how far we could go if our spaces looked like, this rainbow versus just one color and how many more people we could reach and how much better people would be at their jobs if they didn't have to be thinking about code switching in the back of their head and can come in and be themselves and use their strengths, even though their
Mhm.
strength might be look different than somebody else's or might come off different than somebody else's. And I just think, yeah, to your point, like that really should be explored and people should really be accepted for who they are and their differences because
Yeah.
that's what makes the world go round.
Mhm.
If we were all the same, then it'd be boring and we'd lack, a lot. So I don't know. I think, yeah, that I 100% agree with that. Sorry, I just got really like, um,
This is a
intrigued
safe
and I thought,
space, yeah.
start thinking about
This is a safe space.
it's the same, but y'all, I'm gonna be 100. It is 12:45 AM my time, and we are shooting this. I got on pajama pants, socks, I done kicked my legs up, I done laid back on my couch, and I just started having, like, an intellectual I look, don't mind me, I'm doing my best. Okay, so let's kinda go into some closing reflections. I think we touched on this, but one thing is, code switching can be useful. I
Mm.
would say. Do you agree with that? I think you agree with that.
I mean,
It can be a useful skill. If you know how to move in a room and
yeah,
know how to adjust to different people and how to,
yes.
like, not adjust it, but you know how to relate to or
Mhm.
speak somebody else's language.
Correct.
That is a
I
skill.
do think that's a skill.
It's even if we talk about it on a level of dialect and like we were talking about earlier, somebody being bilingual and them switching, like that's where that kind of origin came from. I was talking about this in work because I work globally. So we are everywhere. The company is everywhere. And I could tell how much if I'm working with people that are in a Spanish country, they speak Spanish and how much one of us from the US speaking Spanish makes them feel seen, makes them trust us
Mm,
more versus if we don't know their language. So I think it could be a useful skill. It can.
eh,
But I also think the flip side of that is it can be emotionally draining
yeah,
if
double-edged
I have
sword, I
to
think.
adjust and be something that's not me to try to appease the next person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
10 out of 10, no notes.
screaming. So I guess the big question, and I mean we touched on it, but let's come to a conclusion. Should we code switch, or should code switching be a thing?
No, I don't think it should be a thing. I do think we do have to be polite, we do have to be professional. I don't think no, maybe it's just because when I think about it, I do think a strength is in a skill, I just said, is being adaptable, but I don't know if that's the same as code. Because like I said, code switching is like we talked about how
Yeah,
it's kinda like like, in a way, kind of shrinking yourself sometimes to fit societal norms. I don't think that should be a thing.
yeah,
Um,
I get what you're
but I
saying.
do think, yes, you shouldn't go to a job interview the same way you would go into a club with your friends. Like,
Correct.
like, that's just I think that should be a normal known thing, but I think
Yeah,
it should stop there, like, professional spaces, informal spaces. You know what you need to do, but I don't think we
yeah,
should necessarily have to change our tone in the way we talk and, you know, shrink our racial identities to make other people feel comfortable or to fit this societal standard of what's acceptable for white folks.
yeah.
No.
No, that's huge. I agree with that. Now, remember, I changed my answer to that. I thought that was
Mhm.
different. I do agree with that. I do think we should be able to just be professional and polite and get the
Mhm.
job done. And that could be in outfits too, y'all. You like again, you cannot dress like you
Yeah.
are going to the club, to class on campus, to an interview, to work. Like those is not that is not you having to dim down. That is literally what is appropriate and what is not for specific settings. And we do need to law need to be laid down with that. I think
Yeah.
some of it is just people not knowing or not having people that came before them that were in these spaces or doing these things. So they really just don't know. But
Mhm.
I think, yes, we have to, and even how we talk, but not how we talk, but like what we're saying more so.
Yeah.
Not how we talk, what we're saying. I think again that you have to be able to read the room.
Yeah. Because
Is this
there
a
are still
space
things that are
inappropriate for a setting? Yeah.
universally, like, just inappropriate to say.
Yeah, no. But
So yeah.
generally speaking, I agree with you 100%. We should
Yeah.
not be code switching because there's stereotypes about a particular group of people.
Mhm.
And so to not fit into those, we're trying to change who we are and shrink and modify to make people feel comfortable, to fit cultural norms, to fit specific contexts and spaces when the norm is not us. So why do I need to fit
Amen.
into that? Because that's not even for me. That doesn't even have me included in it. And just imagine if if there wasn't code switching, people could just go and, like, be polite and be professional and just be who they are and just go into a space. Like, it would just be
Mhm.
so much lighter. Everybody would be so much lighter because now you done took away the stress from this group of people. We don't have to even think about that. We just in here ready to work, ready to be because we can just be.
Amen.
Versus, I'm trying y'all want me to go to a work event after and I'm not interested. I wanna go home because I done acted all day and I'm ready to go. I can't be myself. I'm serious.
No, I agree with you.
I'm serious. You laughing?
I
I'm
go
dead.
home drained every day. I'll be like, "Today drained me."
Today drained me. It drained me. Okay. So what's the goal then, Mattia? That's what I meant to say. Like, I just wonder if everybody just stopped doing it. I don't think they would have a choice but to accept it.
I
But
think it's too habit-based now,
yeah, to
and it's
learn,
just
like
too
learned
entrenched.
behavior.
It sucks because when you think about things that are more on a historical or a systemic level, I don't wanna sound discouraging, but it is really hard when you know something operates as a system to not feel kinda helpless in that because these things are so entrenched in
Yeah.
society that it's like, I mean, you could attack it at an individual level, like, when you get into certain spaces, I won't I'll let people be who they wanna be, but that only goes so far, you know what I mean? But that's
Right.
okay, baby step.
Yeah. Baby steps.
But I do think, yeah, the goal, I think, would be for more people and more companies or spaces to kinda just not have that standard or that norm and just allow people to be comfortable no matter what they look like, what they talk like, as long as it's professional and they get their job done. They're not, like, in there cursing, calling people, out their names and type stuff like that. But I shouldn't have to talk like this every single day and be so sharp and like, I
For
shouldn't have
you
to
to
do
feel
that, like, just
comfortable.
right, just let me be me, please.
So, basically what I hear you saying is that the goal is
Okay,
not to stop
therapy, summarization statement.
girl, this is something I should work on, this is a negotiation skill too, to the legal point. But anyways, basically what I hear you saying though is the goal is not to stop code switching, but the goal is to create spaces where people don't feel like they have to code switch.
Correct.
10 out of 10, no notes. Y'all, I'm goofy and tired. Just rock with me. We almost done. Okay, so we already talked about this. What it would look like for people to show up as themselves. We would be great.
Yeah,
It'd be
better
wonderful.
world.
We'd have a better world. People would be happier. We would learn so much more.
Mhm.
We would be able to, I don't know. It just, oh my gosh, it would truly be a melting pot. And it would expand opportunities. It would allow other people to be seen. It would diversify the spaces, I think. Because I think some people just look at themselves and see what's there and might be like, I don't fit. So I ain't even gonna try. Forget a code switch. I'm not even gonna try to go into that space, because I don't think I'll be accepted. So I just think things would just be much better. I'm just trying to imagine. Yeah, I'm really
Look,
trying to imagine. But okay, let's move on
please.
because Matia's looking at me like, girl, please. I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to think of a future
I
that
was
is,
about to be for our words of wisdom for the end.
oh, dang. I forgot about that. Okay. Yeah, okay, let's go into that.
Yep.
So, let's share our words of wisdom, y'all. We are now at the end of the episode, so as y'all know, we're gonna give y'all some words of wisdom. I have not thought about this at all, so Matia, I'm gonna let you take it first.
I'm gonna kinda steal what you said earlier because it reminded me of a quote. What did the quote say? It say, like, "If you desire to make a difference in the world, you must be different than the world." I really love that quote. And I think that really goes into what we talked about today. And I think it's hard because I think the world does reward you for becoming like it and not for challenging it, and we've seen that in a lot of different ways, especially with this administration, but it will, praise your silence more than your honesty, and I think choosing to be different is a really good practice to have, just always making a daily decision to, like, stay aligned with who you are, even if it would be easier to adjust, and I don't think difference is about being separate from the world in this disconnected way, but I think just being someone who's making space for a different type of world to exist is really important. And yeah, I inspire or not inspire, I encourage you all to do that.
Hmm, come on. Do I even need to go? I think that would be enough to wrap the episode. I mean, I could share something, but it's gonna be very short. I had somebody say this to me, and this is what I would say. Matia, stop laughing at me. I'm trying to be
I'm
serious.
sorry.
Okay. I had somebody say this to me, and this is what I'm gonna say. Your best is enough.
Mm,
And so I think that connects very heavily to this topic. I'm not going to iron it all out, but I think that that's good. Your best is enough. You're polite, you're professional, you're you, who you are, and showing up as that person and doing what you need to. Like, that is enough. You don't need to try to appease other people to make them feel comfortable. If that comes at the expense of, yourself and requires you to shrink yourself. So yeah, your
I
best is
love
enough.
that. And that goes back to our point that we made in another podcast episode. Enough is everything. You
Enough
are
is
enough and enough is
everything.
everything. And I just got that tatted on me and I read it every day.
Okay. Um, okay. Yeah. I was about to say something else, but let's just wrap it up on that. No, yeah. Yeah, your best is enough. Enough is everything. You are enough. And don't let people put you in a box.
Amen.
Um, so yeah. Okay, y'all. Well, that is it. We have gotten through episode 8. We thank y'all again for rocking with us. Please follow us and subscribe on all platforms. Y'all, we are now on Apple Podcasts. So please tune in on Apple Podcasts. And if you like this video, please like it, please share, please comment. And if you just like our podcast in general, please share it with your friends, family, loved ones, etc. And let us know what you think about it. Give us feedback. Let us know if there's anything you want to hear about. And we will be back again next Tuesday with a new episode as usual. And y'all have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Well, I guess week, because we shoot these early. So excuse me. Y'all have a wonderful week. Bye.